What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Mateo Family Vibes. And so here we are. This is a Sunday, and again, we just got out of church, and now essentially just like we did the previous week, we go ahead and now we just take the time to spend with the family. We have, of course, little baby, and of course we have, my amazing wife. But hopefully you guys are having a good Sunday, or whenever this video comes out. Hopefully you guys have a good Holy Week if you're Christian or whatnots. But shout out to Victory Church, because they're the ones that actually hold church here. So shout out to Victory Mandaluyong Church, because they are the ones that provide the services here within our complex where we live. So thank you to them for bringing the word here. So what are we doing, baby? Say hi. 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 So we're here Sunday, and we get to spend just some time with the family. Last time we saw, last time we saw that she was able to ride her scooter, so we got that accomplished. And then now we get to essentially watch the sunset. And it's pretty close to being sunset, but check out the view that we have here. And of course you're looking at Rockwell and Makati, and then over here is the sunset. I don't know how well you could see it or not, but it's definitely there. It's about halfway done, but very nice. And like I said, every day is essentially different when it comes to the sunset. But today's video, guys, so what I want to talk about today is, in the last video I talked about things that I liked, didn't like about living here and things of that nature, but I got a lot of questions about whether or not where is better to live. Is it better to live in the province, or is it better to live in the city? Oh yeah, look at that. Wow. So is it better to live in the province, or is it better to live in the city? Honestly, like I was saying in the previous video, it's going to depend upon your lifestyle and what type of lifestyle you want to have in a different country. And also, most importantly, is your income. What does your income look like? And essentially that would play a major factor, if not be one of the biggest factors when you're looking at living here, particularly in the Philippines. Now, obviously there's benefits to both living in the province. There's benefits to living in the city. Now, I think, though, most importantly, that I kind of split this up into three different groups. There's like the city, right, which is what you see here, living here in the city where everything's convenient and stuff like that. And then there's living in province. Now, there's two different types of provinces. There's like the farm province, like where you're out in the middle of nowhere and you're very isolated. And then there's a province that still has kind of somewhat of a city, right? The infrastructure has been built somewhat to where you could have some conveniences of like the city here, right? But you don't get all of it. And so places, I'm gonna say, like, if you were to go to like a province, let's say in Leyte, right? That's one of the islands here. The province there would be significantly different than the province if you were to go, let's say, down to Laguna. That's down south from Manila, maybe 2 or 3 hour drive. Or it could be different than living, let's say, in Tagaytay, which is another 3 or 4 hours drive from here. So I think that there's three different types of groups when it comes to living out here in the Philippines. And so if you enjoy living out in the farm, like rice lands, and you want to be like really just away from everything and everybody, you want that real type of raw, authentic, farm life type of lifestyle, then definitely the provinces, like the farm provinces, would be better for you. And the most immediate, I think, effect that you would have is essentially the cost. The cost of living is going to be really, really lower. So that's going to be a huge advantage to living in that type of province. So if you like to live out in the farmland area type deal, you're going to save a lot of money. Now, what you lose in the sense of what you actually gain, well, you kind of lose the fact that obviously, the convenience factor of like having access to malls, things to do, modern, I would say probably modern hospitals or something like that, especially if you're coming from the US, is going to be different. So the expectations are obviously going to be lower. I think, though, an advantage of living out there obviously is the cost, for one. Secondly, I think is the food, because you're going to be eating fresh food. If you like seafood and stuff like that, I mean, obviously, a lot of the food here, especially in the provinces, is fish. So fresh vegetables, fresh fish, fresh rice, because obviously you're going to be living within rice fields and stuff. So the rice over there is super fresh. And so I think that those things are going to be huge advantages for you. I think the disadvantage of living out there obviously is going to be, let's say, modern hospitals probably, or things to do. They don't necessarily have malls, so nightlife and things of that nature, not going to be doing any of that stuff. So I think a lot of it honestly is again depending on what type of lifestyle you want to have. What, baby? What happened? Look. What are you looking at?
I see it.
What?
I see it.
You see it? What do you see? Point. Where is it?
I see it.
Yeah, you see on the So I think those are good and bad things about living out there. Now, I think the middle ground between city and like real farmland provinces is living in a province, but somewhere where it's still close to a city where it's still actually developed. So let's say a place, I want to say like, Laguna, for example, or Cavite or something like that, where you're not in a major like high-rise condo city like Manila, but you still have access to malls, modern hospitals, and all that stuff. And it's going to be cheaper to live out there than it would be the city. But check this out. Say hi.
Hi.
What are you doing? You're just running. I love it. That's what we're talking about here, is that. But what are some of the places? Because I don't know every place, but like, would you say Cavite, right? That's down south, right? Cavite, Laguna. What else is down there?
Cavite, Laguna, Quezon Province.
Quezon Province.
Yeah. Camarines, Norte, and Sur. What
But
else?
that's not off the main island, you know? What's
No.
what's at the bottom? Batangas, is it?
Yeah.
Batangas, right? That's a province, right? But it's still modern because
But
it has like this is what I was saying. Like if you go somewhere like Leyte, right, or Palo or something, right? It's very rice land farm type of situation. But if you go somewhere like Batangas, right, then you're out in the province, but you still have access to malls, modern hospitals, all that stuff. You know, so and it's still cheaper.
Ana kung over.
And it's still cheaper than living here in the city,
Yeah, of course.
you know? So,
But still province. Come on.
because it's still province, yeah. So I think that right there is probably the middle ground that has, I think, the best of both worlds is living in the province, but in a modern province, not in the farmland out there where you could still save a ton of money, but you still have conveniences. And I think that was the biggest thing for me is when we went out to the provinces, it's great, it's quiet, it's very peaceful, there's no traffic, right? There's none of that stuff. So I like it, but the only part about that I don't like is that there's nothing to do. Literally, there's nothing to do. They have like one mall that everybody goes to, one major big grocery store that everybody goes to get groceries from and stuff like that. And yeah, there's just nothing to do. And if you don't have a car or motorbike or something like that to kind of take you around, that's probably going to be a big issue as well. If you're going to live out there, you definitely need some form of transportation. If you're going to live in the city here, you don't need transportation. You don't need to buy a car or anything like that because there's so many different ways to get around the city that you really buying a car in the city really doesn't make sense. But if you were to go out into the provinces, definitely want to think about the fact budgeting for a car, at least a motorbike, which will probably be pretty simple, especially if you're single or whatnot. So even if you're a couple and have no kids, but at least you can get around and you can go to all kinds of different places with just a motorbike. So it makes a big difference. So those are just some of the, I think, advantages and disadvantages of both. But I think definitely the middle ground is living in a province that still is well developed. Living in the city here, obviously, I talked about it in the previous video. It's great. You have all of the conveniences. If you want nightlife and all that stuff, it's all here, right? So all of that is here. The things that kind of suck about living in the city, I talked about in the last video. Traffic, it's going to cost more to live out here. And, but that cost obviously provides just more conveniences and more things that you would actually want to do. So also, if you have an income, I would say, let's say $1,000 or less, I wouldn't come out. I wouldn't move out here, guys. To be honest with you, I wouldn't move out here unless you have, I would say, at least $1,200 to $1,500 a month. Okay, and that's by yourself. Obviously, if you go out to the provinces, then you'll save a ton of money, and that $1,500 will go a long way. But I think you have to be realistic in the sense that when you first get here, you may not go straight out to the provinces, right? You may stay in the city here and explore and see what's around and kind of get to know the area, which is fine. But if you're going to move here, just make sure that your income is a consistent income. You know, if you're retiring or whatnot, make sure that it's, whatever, your retirement, Social Security, whatever it is, just make sure that it's consistent, because you don't want to be here and run out of money. It would be a bad situation. But yeah, so real quick, recap, city living is going to be more expensive and more convenient. Living out in the farmland provinces, not so convenient in the sense that you don't have, you know, a whole city that you can visit, right?
Daddy, Daddy.
Yeah, baby. What happened? Where are you going? Where are you going? Where are you going? Wait. What are you doing? So city living, more expensive, but you have all the conveniences that you want as a foreigner. If you want the cheapest route, then go out into the faraway provinces where you can have, where everything will be a lot cheaper, much more fresh food, but you just don't have the conveniences. If you like, let's say, the beach, if you love the beach, provinces is probably where you want to go. They have some of the most amazing beaches here that you could, you know, ask for. So if the beach is your thing, the province is definitely where you want to go, hands down, without question. There's no beach here that really you can enjoy out here in Manila. There are some smaller beaches, but it's nothing, absolutely nothing like what you would find in the province. Okay, but I think the middle ground of getting the best bang for your buck and still having the conveniences, okay, is living out in a province that's still a major city, where the rates for you living there are lower than actual city life here, like in Manila. You still have access to all the conveniences of malls and things of that nature. Still have access to modern hospitals and stuff like that. But again, the amount of money that you'll be spending is a lot less. All right, guys. So that is a quick video of the differences between the different province and city life. I hope you enjoy this video, and until the next one, we will see you in the next one, guys. Much love and God bless.